I think the most important lesson I learned in my entire career is you need to have absolute clarity. And it doesn't matter if you're building a company or whatever else you're doing, you need to have real tenacity because periodically the ship is going to go through some rough straits. So a combination of tenacity and clarity is important, and being able to evolve. You need to know when to be aggressive and know when to pull back. I've seen way too many companies that, I advised them don't grow so fast, and they did, and they went belly up. The ones that were slow and steady, and we kept going back and looking at, here's the plan, how's it going, what do we need to do to add or amend to it to make sure that your growth is really stable and significant. Those are the companies that'll make it. So tenacity isn't always going really, really fast. It's just not giving up when things are not going well, because it's going to happen to pretty much every CEO and business owner periodically. Balance is really important, not only for the business owner or the CEO, but also for the employees. You get a much more positive energy when there's balance in the workplace. People look forward to coming to work. They don't regret it. It's important that everyone has an opportunity to recharge. So I began believing in that early on in life when I had been working way too much. And one day the doctor said, well, you can keep doing what you're going to do and you'll get rich, but you'll be dead at 35. You don't want to die on the golf course now, do you? And I said, no. He says, well, you got to have balance. And I took that to heart. I remember when I was in Prague, as an example, my business partner said, well, we're going to give everyone, we agree that we're going to give everyone 3 to 4 weeks paid leave. And whenever they wanted, they can break it up or whoever, but most of them took it during the summer. And then he said, and later on he says, of course, you ready? Have you told them that we're all going to close down during Christmas? I said, is that still paid leave? He goes, oh, heck yes. Well, what I discovered was when people have balance in their life, they tend to work a lot better. Their head is clear, they're motivated, they're excited. And this is something I try to impress upon clients that we work with. I don't want them to be cultivating lazy employees or coworkers. But I also want to make sure that people love working for that company and they're not in a pressure cooker. And when you do that, the creativity starts to come about and wonderful customer relations are happening. That's very important, and it all ties in with balance. In spite of the summers that can be very, very miserable, I do enjoy going to Barton Springs and cooling off. This time of the year I really enjoy. This is about 70 degrees here. This is great hiking weather. I love hiking. And I've been blessed to have a lot of friends, and we like to go out and eat and like to brainstorm and talk about current events and politics and safe conversations. And do a lot of reading, do a lot of writing. Life is great. I almost got started by accident. Back then in high school, I had long hair, and even McDonald's wouldn't hire me unless I had a 3.5 GPA, and which is kind of funny nowadays. They'll hire you if you breathe. But I had an opportunity to start mowing this lady's lawn and taking care of her yard for $1.50 an hour. And then the neighbor across the street asked me if I could do something for them. And it just took off like wildfire. And then my parents said, well, it looks like you've started a little business here, and you've always kind of had an entrepreneurial streak. So maybe this is your future. Before I knew it, I had raised my prices and was hiring classmates. Initially, my classmates were laughing at me, because they said, you're out doing all this yard work. And, we grew up in a fairly wealthy part of town. And back then it was not looked upon well, but they stopped laughing at me when I hired them. And they really stopped laughing at me when I fired them. So the rest is history. The company grew, the business grew, and we added on additional parts of the business, and I sold it to finish off college. The sale of the business carried me through the first 3 years of college and some extensive traveling. And it was after that I got back into it, but this time I went ahead and got a contractor's license. And then in my disgust with working with landscape architects, I decided it would be not a bad idea to go back and get a accredited license to go into business against them. And so the company grew and took off, and we did spectacular. We had award-winning projects for high-end celebrities and people who are at the top of the food chart in the islands, and I was good. And spun out some other companies out of that as well. Went into the radio, had a radio show, and by accident stumbled into helping companies who needed advice. I didn't even know that that we could help them or that I could help them, but what I discovered is there's some fundamental basics in how to successfully build and run a company, and that's where I actually got the idea of going into what I'm doing now. I've started advising companies in 1995, originally approached by some venture capitalists in the San Francisco Bay Area, and some bankers, and they'd say, well, we're helping these startups get started. They have a great idea in the .com sector or in the restaurant business, but they have no clue as to how to scale it. And I really enjoyed that, and things just kind of took off from there. So even though I had earlier on had about 2 years of this is when we took it to a much grander scale. When I was traveling throughout Europe, I fell in love with Prague in particular. And there was a magic there that I had never experienced, because the Czechs had discovered all the wonderful things that go with liberty, freedom. And they were redoing everything, laying down more bricks, repainting buildings, and the business environment was literally on fire. Suddenly the Czechs were able to do what they wanted to do and build companies that they wanted to build. And when I went over there, I kept going back and forth from that point on. And I put an ad in the San Francisco Business Journal. If you're an American company that's interested in expanding into Central Europe, I can help you. And suddenly there were a number of clients out of the Bay Area that wanted to look into expanding into that region. They either needed to find facilities or build a team over there. They needed to be introduced to government agencies that were encouraging growth from outside. And that's how I kind of got started over there, and had a partnership in Prague, and finally packed up and moved there and stayed there for a while, and it was great. My favorite type of business to work with is one that has already been building itself up. They've put together a preliminary strategy. They've hired a number of employees, they have a number of locations, and they're wanting to scale above and beyond. And I really enjoy that. Most of those types of companies are in the service sector or retail or even restaurant. But I've had a really well-rounded experience working with so many companies, from Fortune 500s all the way down to qualified startups. And it's just being a part of that synergy, but making sure that they scale correctly and they don't implode on the journey up. I have been told that I look like Robin Williams, or remind people of Robin Williams, since I was about 18. That's about when Mork and Mindy came out, and kids back then would come up to me and they'd start going, "Nanu, Nanu," and I go, "I don't know, what are you doing, kid?" Anyway, then I learned that that's what Robin Williams did. I have been chased around ships by middle-aged women who wanted to buy me drinks. I've been chased around airplanes by college students that thought I was Robin Williams, and I'd say, "Well, if I were Robin Williams, do you think I'd be flying back here with the peasants?" And he says, "This is what we love about America. The great actors fly with the peasants too." And there's all kinds of crazy stories where that comes from. I actually met with Robin Williams' agent when I was having my midlife crisis. I thought about being his double. She said, "You're not short enough, hairy enough, fat enough, or crazy enough to be him." But I still have a lot of fun.